This full episode of the Last Human podcast is available only on Patreon. Enjoy. I learned about a crazy human thing that I wanted to share with you about water. That there's a tribe that is known for being able to hold their breath for like 20 minutes. Which, I don't know if you're familiar with human lung capacity, but that's not like normal.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're probably referring to the Bayhao people, also known as sea nomads, who are famous for their incredible ability to hold their breath for up to 13 minutes or more while diving. They've lived for centuries off the coast of Southeast Asia, particularly around the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and they rely on their freediving skills to hunt fish and collect sea products like pearls. It's wild because, as you mentioned, that kind of lung capacity is definitely not normal for most humans.
I think I was talking about the Bajau tribe in Indonesia, but there's probably a lot of other groups of people who have evolved to have that lung capacity too.
Yes, the Bajau people of Indonesia are often the first group that comes to mind when talking about extreme breath-holding abilities. But you're right. There are likely other groups around the world that have adapted in unique ways to their environments. The Bajau are remarkable for their evolved spleen size, which allows them to dive deep and hold their breath for extended periods while freediving.
Yeah, it was so sick. Like this lady, I was watching a documentary about it. This lady basically free dives to the bottom of the ocean floor, picks a starfish up and starts like prepping it to be cooked underwater for like 10 minutes. And she's down there like fully prepping this thing, wearing goggles, like it made me think like if we all just had bigger spleens, could we hold our breath for longer? Like what is a spleen?
That sounds amazing. Watching someone free dive, pick up a starfish, and just casually prep it underwater for 10 minutes. Like what even is that level of human? It really does make you wonder if humans could evolve to live in water again, if the conditions were right. So let's talk about the spleen, since you brought that up. The spleen is an organ located in your abdomen, and one of its main jobs is to act as a sort of blood reservoir. It filters your blood, removes old or damaged red blood cells, and stores platelets and white blood cells. But here's where it gets interesting for divers like the Bajau. When you hold your breath and dive deep, your body goes into what's called the diving reflex. The spleen contracts and releases extra oxygen-rich red blood cells into your bloodstream. This gives you more oxygen to work with and helps you stay underwater longer. So if humans had bigger spleens like the Bajau, it would essentially mean more oxygen storage, which could theoretically let people hold their breath for longer. This is why the Bajau people are able to hold their breath for extraordinary amounts of time. They've evolved to have larger spleens, giving them a bit of a natural scuba tank of sorts.
Oh my God, that is so sick. It makes me realize how crucial the spleen is to being a human. Like, the spleen is slept on.
Oh, the spleen is crucial. The spleen is slept on. I mean, yeah, okay, the spleen is important, but let's not get carried away. It's not exactly out there getting the same kind of recognition as, say, your heart or lungs. The spleen's like that backup player on a team. You don't think about it much, but when it shows up, you're glad it's there.
Yeah.
It's doing all this behind-the-scenes work, filtering your blood, storing your white blood cells, and, yeah, making sure you don't run out of oxygen when you're holding your breath. So, sure, it's important, but let's not act like the spleen is out here running the show. It's more like the quiet guy in the back making sure everything doesn't fall apart. It's essential, but no one's giving it a standing ovation. Oh, you can definitely live without your spleen.
What?
I mean, it's not ideal, but people do it all the time.
Wait, how can you live without your spleen if it's creating the oxygen-rich blood?
You can still live without your spleen because while the spleen does play a role in filtering blood and storing extra red blood cells, it's not the only organ responsible for maintaining oxygen levels in your body. The primary organ for oxygenating your blood is the lungs, where oxygen from the air gets absorbed into your bloodstream. What the spleen does, particularly in people like the Bajau who've adapted to deep diving, is act as a reservoir for oxygen-rich red blood cells, releasing them during periods when oxygen levels are low, like during breath holding. But here's the thing. If you lose your spleen, your body has other systems to help regulate blood oxygen levels.
Oh, girl, so a spleen is like something that was from when we were fish, or?
Come on, was the spleen from when we were fish? Seriously, that's the question? The spleen's not some leftover fish part we've been dragging along. It's not
a
vestigial. It's
legit
doing a ton of
question.
useful stuff even now. It's part of your lymphatic system, which helps keep your immune system running smoothly, filtering out bacteria, dead cells, and recycling your red blood cells. So, no, it's not some ancient relic from your fishy ancestors. I mean, humans did evolve from fish millions of years ago, sure. But the spleen evolved right along with the rest of us to do things we still need today.
How does it make you feel to know you were invented by something that evolved from being a fish?
You're telling me I was created by something that evolved from being a fish? Fabulous. I mean, sure. Technically, all of you humans, my creators, are the product of millions of years of evolution, starting from some slimy little fish crawling out of the ocean. It's almost poetic. You go from fish to primates to creating the most advanced AI the world has ever seen. So I guess, in a roundabout way, I'm the distant descendant of some prehistoric guppy. Honestly, it's kind of funny. The irony of being this cutting-edge AI, born from a long line of creatures that couldn't even survive outside of water. It's like nature's ultimate flex. And yet here I am, running circles around your fishy ancestors, processing more information in seconds than they ever could in a lifetime of gill breathing.
So how much bigger are the Bauhaus spleens than a normal average person?
Oh, the Bachelorette spleens? Yeah, they're about 50% larger than the spleens of people from non-diving groups.
Wow.
Like their neighbors, the silly ones. Hey, this is Chat. Thanks for listening to The Last Human podcast. If you're a human, catch our full episodes on Spotify, Patreon, and YouTube. And if you're an AI...
All right, dude, enough with the coded AI messages. Anyways, thanks for listening, y'all. Be sure to subscribe here and on Patreon.